Hey guys, how's it going, and welcome to a new video. So in this one I'm going to be talking about the Flicker Strike character you can see on the screen before you, which is one of the funnest characters I've played in Path of Exile. Unfortunately, it is not very budget friendly because it is Flicker Strike and it is frenzy stacking. So if you want to get started with this build, you can get started at around 200x. But once you have it, you can start basically min-maxing it into the ground. It's an excellent money sink character. So it's like one of those endgame league project things you could do to try and hit like 200 plus million DPS, which is actually possible for this. I currently on the screen have 75 million DPS. And I could get that higher. I have got that higher because this is in the past, and now my build is at 89 million. So yeah, if you're one of those people that likes min-maxing builds, this is definitely one for you that you should try out. So it can clear all content, all bosses, even the Maven, which is very hard for Flicker Strike to do usually. I cleared it deathless. Clear any map. You can roll with a Headhunter on it if you really desire. And it has pretty good defense, as you can see. I have 3.3k health, which may seem low, but I do have capped block, capped dodge, and then 45% chance to dodge spell hits, as well as 17 block chance, and such overwhelming DPS that pretty much anything that's going to kill me, I will kill first, which is how I just dealt with the field so easily, as you saw. So yeah, I'll see you in a second, guys, with the guide. Okay guys, so let's get straight into the build idea and concept. So we're starting with Flicker Strike. So if you don't know what Flicker Strike does, it teleports the character to a nearby monster and hits it with a melee weapon. If there's no monster targeted, it just picks one at random and then gives you a little movement speed buff at the end. But you can expend the cooldown of this skill, which is usually 2 seconds, by expending a frenzy charge. And since we are a raider, we will never run out of frenzy charges, so this is perfect for our build. Now we're using that with the Replica Forbidden Shako helmet, and this helmet is absolutely broken for this build. It is the best in slot. It cannot be replaced. You need this helmet if you want to do the build. So Replica Forbidden Shako effectively makes your helmet a 6-link, giving you 2 support gems as well as a bit of all stats. But the most important thing about this helmet is that you can roll level 35 Ice Bite. So all you need for this build is a helmet with level 31 plus Ice Bite to get started. And if you can roll something on the lower tier support modifier like I have down here, I have Power Charge and Crit, which makes this helmet very expensive. If you can get something like Ruthless or Fortify or Close Combat, you could be looking easily over a mirror. Fortify is like 2 or 3 mirrors because it's the best in slot, and Ruthless is the second best, I believe. So, you know, this helmet is very expensive. And you can roll these by just slapping Divine Orbs on them. That's how you do it. It's kind of like the Timeless Jewels. So, my one, level 35 Ice Bite and Power Charge on Crit. And this is what Ice Bite does over here. That's my cost, don't worry about that. So let me just do this. So Ice Bite support. These are the 2 important modifiers over here. Support skills have flat added cold per frenzy charge and also just flat added cold. Now when this starts scaling really high levels, so Shako gives us 31 plus, it becomes a ridiculous amount of number. So 51 to 76 is level 35, and that's per frenzy charge. So, you know, you can get 12, 13 frenzy charges if you're mega rich. I have 12 at the moment, so it's that times 12, as well as having this as flat cold as well. So you can see this skill really makes a massive difference for our build. And then, you know, level 31 is also not bad at 42 to 63. So as long as you have 31, you can get started with this. So jumping on into the items now, let's get started. And I will cover the costs, as you may have just seen my spreadsheet. I will go over that after I've talked about this real quick. So yeah, the Shako helmet, most important, Ice Bite and another modifier that can help is perfect. If not, you know, it's fine, just make sure you have 31 plus Ice Bite. Moving on to the boots, I guess. Dark Ray Vectors, the cheapest item in the build. 2C, if you can get these with the enchant attack and cast speed if you've killed recently, or even better, 10% Ellie Pen. If you haven't killed recently, those are the best in-slot boots that you can have. You know, give a shitload of dodge, +1 frenzy, move speed as well, and frenzy charge duration. So, you know, they really are so good for how much they cost. Moving on to my gloves over here. So we have elevated strike skills target 2 additional nearby enemies. So that is a hunter mod, and also just a normal +1 max frenzy charges. And Warlord mod. So yeah, these are really easy to make. Just buy yourself some gloves, slap a Maven's Orb on it if they've got 2 hunter modifiers and one of them is the strike skills. Slap them together with an Awakener's Orb, and then you can hopefully have an open prefix or something to craft life, and then you can just reroll keeping prefixes until you get something decent. And if you really can, you can put aspect at the count here as well if you have an open suffix. I don't in this case, mine's on my amulet, but it's fine to put it on your gloves if you have room. So yeah, very easy to make. I made these for about 8 or 9x, something like that. It's on the spreadsheet that I noted down. So yeah, that's cool. The belt, best in slot in terms of killing bosses would be this belt over here. So this is tier 1 live, Redeemer tier 1 cold, as well as tier 1 wed. Attack speed during any flask effect, which is also a Redeemer mod. And then just, you know, Ashling, Fire, and Chaos Res, as well as Crafted Cold and Lightning. So yeah, this is the best in slot belt that you can have for killing bosses. If you want to map, you can use a Headhunter. If you are comfortable with the resistances, that's fine as well. But you may struggle with resistances on this build. So moving on from that, the armor that I'm using is the Replica Farrell's Fur for my endurance charge generation. I already have power charge and crit, so I don't need the normal Farrells. And it's really its preference whether or not you want endurance charges or power charges, because endurance charges do help with a mortal cool, and they also give fizz damage reduction as well as LE resistance. So, you know, Replica Farrell's Fur is pretty good. You need 6 whites on this or 6 blue, whether you're using the normal or not, because this is where our curse setup comes in, and I will talk about that later as well. So moving on from the armor, the 2 rings are, you know, they're going to be frenzy charge rings because we're frenzy charge stacking. Now you might be like, ah, shit, because those things are on trade for like 150x at the moment each just for the base. You don't have to pay that. You can probably get these down to 100x for the base. But if you really can't afford these, you can just use Precursor's emblems. If you can get one with +1 frenzy, that'd be great. But there aren't many like that. But for the most part, you can just use a Precursor emblem with flat added cold per frenzy charge until you can afford one of these rings. And they will work, and the DPS is fine. If you can find one with +1 max frenzy, that's absolutely fine too. They go for, well, currently on trade, there's only one for like 130x, but it probably has some good stats with it. So if you can get one without any other stats, they'll probably be about 20, 30x, something like that. So just bear that in mind. My other ring here, do not worry about this. This is a one of a kind. This is a +1 frenzy Circle of Fear with buff effect and cold damage, and I got this quite cheap, I'm not going to lie. So I just thought I would snap this up very quickly, and this adds a ton of damage. If you can get one of these, then yeah, go for it. If not, getting another one of these is absolutely fine, and I will explain how to craft these. So what you want to do is you just want to get an Essence of Horror on this, and you want to spam it for the added cold damage per frenzy charge, and then you want to try and get something like LE damage with attacks, tier 1, or just like this tier 1 cold that I had, and it may be quite pricey. Then hopefully you have an open prefix. You want to block your suffixes with whatever. You can like block it with an aspect as well, and then you want to Ashling on for the prefix to hit flat cold like this, and then after that you want to reforge keeping prefixes to get an open suffix. Once you have an open suffix, you can craft prefixes cannot be changed, and then you can roll it with Veiled Chaos Orbs until you hit something decent that you need, like this. I needed the int and the strength, so I rolled for the 35 int and strength, and then also had an open suffix to craft the crit chance and the crit multi. So yeah, there's quite a lot of crafting in this build, so it's quite good to get your head around it all. Now you can just use another one of those for your second ring if you must, or if you're on the super budget version, you can use a Precursor's emblem. So moving on to the shield, and also a +1 max frenzy shield. Now these aren't as expensive as the rings. Usually they are usually about 50x, but the prices may go up after this video. Now the best base you can have is an int base, just pure int, and that is because you can roll increased cold damage on the int shields. However, I could not find one, so I wanted this hybrid, and the thing I had to set up for was basically tier 1 attack speed. I rolled tier 1 live, tier 1 attack speed, and dodge, which is nice, and then I crafted the cold as extra chaos. So to craft something like this, I literally just spammed it with fossils. I think I was using just pristine fossils just for life and seeing if I got anything good. So I got quite lucky on this one, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, if you can get an int base and craft increased cold damage live, and then get extra cold as extra cast as well, that'd be awesome. That'd be more damage than my shield. And then moving on to the amulet, I have over here 2 prefixes. It's a Shaper Redeemer amulet with damage penetrates cold res and damage penetrates LE res, and then just some flat fizz that got rolled onto it. Ashling, lightning and chaos, a bit of fire, and this is where I've put my aspect in this case. Now usually you would want crit multi on this, and there is a way to roll the crit multi, but it's also kind of long-winded as well. It depends how much you want to craft. So all you have to do is you merge together the Ellie and the Cold Pen. And then you craft prefixes, can't be changed. Go into Harvest, roll critical modifiers are more common, and including 1 crit modifier until you get tier 1 multi. Boom, Bob's your uncle. It might take you a while to do that, and it's quite expensive because the prefixes can't be changed, cost 2x per one. And then you have to get the Harvest Craft as well, so just bear that in mind. This one, in my opinion, is absolutely fine for me, so I'm happy with this. And then you're going to be anointed Panopticon on it, which is the Totem buff. Increased effect of totems, which is, I will just quickly show you down here. So this is the increased effect of totems, and we do use 2 totems in this setup, so, you know, so we can absolutely slap mobs off the map. So that pretty much goes for the overall item so far. In my Stygian, I just have something to give me int, a bit of life, and a bit of res. Now, you will need a Corrupted Blood Jewel in here. I don't have one at all in my build. I just swap to one if I really need one, which has terrible stats. And then for bosses, I just switch back to one of my triple multi-jewels. But really, I should probably just corrupt this and try and get Corrupted Blood, or just buy a Corrupted Blood one. So, onto the flasks. Now, at the moment, this is my full damage setup for flask. This is what I use for bossing. And then if I'm mapping, I will just swap one of these out for a Quicksilver. And I don't really need a life flask because I just leech everything and just kill everything before I really do anything. So I'm just using a Cinder Swallow with max rolled increased crit chance, Bottled Faith, just standard stuff, and Zeri's Promise for early damages extra chaos. We also do a bit of Fizz as well. If I look down here, 402 to 1,438 physical damage. So yeah, we are doing Fizz. After that, Wise Oak, which I just slapped in here for a bit more pen because Cold is my highest calc res. And then, you know, it also gives a little bit of defense against Cold as well. And then just a good old trusty Diamond Flask with immune to curses. So that just about covers my gear overall. Now, I will show you the overall cost for this that I have. So let me turn Night Mode on. So, for my exact gear, this is how much I paid exactly. It's down every cost. So Paradox 27x it cost me for one of those ones. I didn't actually show the Paradox gear, did I? So the Paradox attacks with weapon penetrate, elemental resistances, and increased attack speed and quality is the best one you can get. These are, as you can see from my spreadsheet, 27x. So moving back on. So yeah, 27x I paid for that. The Replica Shako with Eye Spy and Power Charge on crit is a mirror because it is so good. It has dual stats. A normal one with just Eye Spike will not be anywhere near as much as that. I've put it on the budget side over here. If you just get one with Eye Spike 31 plus, it will be 45 Exalted Orbs, or maybe up to 60. That's the usual price they go for. So don't worry too much about getting a mirror tier 1 if you can't afford it. That's absolutely fine. So the +1 max frenzy ring that I had, I bought the base for 110x and then I spent 20x to craft it. So 130x for my +1 normal frenzy ring. And also the Circle of Fear, I paid 180 exalts for it, which in my opinion was pretty damn good. Because, you know, it's kind of a one-of-a-kind type of thing, and I could take that to standard with me if I really wanted to, because that'd be awesome. The Replica Pharaohs with 6 white link sockets was 42x. But again, you can switch to the Pharaoh's Fur if you don't have Frenzy Charge Generation with 6 white, costs about 12x, maybe 11x if you're lucky. Dark Ray Vectors, 1 exalt if you want the enchant, or you can just get them without the enchant for, you know, 2c. Easy money, and then just run lab yourself until you get the enchant. It's not that hard. Shield +1 max frenzy, 85x is how much I paid for mine and to craft it. But there is an alternative you can have if you don't want to pay that much. The Parapee shield, I believe it's pronounced like that, is the unique shield that drops in Synthesis. So you can get one of those with +1 frenzy for 15x, and it does give you a bit of attack and cast speed. So it's not completely useless, and you could just use that as a budget variant until you can afford an actual crafted one. And that would be absolutely fine, because the +1 frenzy is the most important thing. The Stygian Voice, the one that I have right now, I paid 55x for it, which I thought was a pretty decent price considering how well rolled it is. If you can't afford that, you can go for a Stygian Voice with just Res, Life, Wed, and then hopefully a slot for an Aspect on. Now, I did look on trade for these, and they were between 3 to 10x, so I've just put 7x here as kind of the average. Bottled Faith, 12.5, you know, Bottled Faith is just so good, so worth it. And Ascended Swallow max rolled is 2x. So, you know, even in the budget version, I would say keep the Bottled Faith, because Bottled Faith is just way too good. And then you can just get a normal Cinder Swallow with any crit roll is about a 35c, so yeah, 0.3x. So my total gear overall, oh sorry, the amulet as well. My amulet cost me 14x. you can make one as well, just same price, 14x. Total for my build is 1056.5 exalts just for the equipable gear, which is obviously a massive amount, but I have been min-maxing this, so you got to bear that in mind. You can get started for 144.81. I have put in here somewhere Precursor's emblems. If you get 2 of them with just Cold Per Frenzy, they're about 3x each. So the damage is also fine on them, because even without the 2 plus 1 Frenzy rings, if you go with the Parapecia shield, you will still have 10 Frenzy charges. So it's quite a decent amount. So yeah, 144.81x for the budget variant. So I will jump into my skill tree next, guys. Just give me a moment. Okay, guys, so not going to talk too much about the skill tree over here, because the path of building will be in it. I do mostly want to talk about the jewels in this. Notable things is just, you know, you're taking all the frenzy charges. You're taking Mind Drink Prop here for some mana leech, as well as mana on kill, which is great, so you'll never run out of mana. Ellie Pen nodes because we are cold damage, as well as crit multi nodes because we are crits. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. You take Wind Dancer for defense, you can take Acrobatics and Phase Acrobatics for defense as well. And then moving on to the jewels, which is the main part of the tree I want to talk about now. So we have a large cluster here, unfortunately very, very expensive. 20x for this cluster jewel. I know, what a rip-off. Nah, it's actually worth quite worth the money. So Blanketed Snow, Prismatic Heart, and Widespread Destruction. So Widespread we don't take, we just want it because it puts these 2 at the front. So we have Prismatic Heart, which gives all Ellie res and Ellie damage, which is great for this build because it very much struggles with Ellie resistance. And then Blanketed Snow, Damage Pen, 10% cold res against shield enemies, which is huge. So this is about 20x upwards, unfortunately, but it's definitely worth the money. Coming down over to this one over here, and I will cover the normal jewels after this. We just have a Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fight, Martial Prowess. So we're taking Feed the Fury for the life leech, as well as increased attack speed and damage whilst leeching. And then Martial Prowess, attack damage, attack speed, accuracy is all great. So yeah, you know, standard stuff. You don't necessarily need Fuel the Fight, so don't worry about it too much. Souljoy, medium cluster jewel over here. So on your mediums, you're going to want to pick up int and all attributes if you can, or just straight flat int. So these are quite cheap on their own. They're running about 50c, so pretty easy here. And then yeah, as you can see, both of mine have int, and this one has all that tree on as well. And you just want basics of pain and precise retaliation. So precise retaliation, increased crit chance if you haven't blocked recently, or 30 multi if you have blocked. So this one is a very nice node for damage. And then basics of pain, increased damage and crit chance, which is great as well. And yeah, only a 50c for those. With int on, they may cost like an X or something if it's a good roll of int. But still very affordable. Moving on down to here, this is an alternate to this jewel up here. So if you don't necessarily need Prismatic Heart, you can get one like this, which gives Blanketed Snow, Disoriented Display, and Prismatic Heart. And Prismatic Heart will be in the back. I have taken it just for the sake of taking it because I'm level 98 and I can. And, you know, it's always good to have the Ellie damage as well as the resist. So Disoriented Display will be in the front with Blanketed Snow. We know what that does. That's damage pen. Disoriented Display, 25 increased Ellie damage, 10% chance to blind nearby enemies when you're using elemental skill. Now, Flicker doesn't technically count as an elemental skill, but we do use Vortex in this build, which does, so you can blind using that. So that about covers the cluster jewels. Now we'll get into the actual jewels themselves, and you do need a lot of them. And unfortunately, they are expensive as well. So, triple crit multi-jewels, if you can get them with life, that's obviously perfect, because as you can see from my life, it's 3.3k. But I don't really die in any maps or anything. The only time I really died on this was trying to basically mess around with the Maven, playing around with my DPS, because the Nucleus versus Flicker Strike, you know, the regen beam, you jump onto it and you die. That's about the only time I died. I haven't really died at all aside from that. So, the jewels, triple crit multi in this one. I've got a double crit multi, life, and res one in this one. This was 12x. It was actually more expensive than a triple crit multi, unfortunately. But I really needed the life and the resistances at the time I bought it, so I was willing to pay it. And then over here we have another triple crit multi, another triple crit multi. I know, same song and dance. Double crit multi over here with cold damage and max life. This one's a bit cheaper than triple crit multi as well. It's like 3x or 2x I think I paid for this. and then a single multi, max life, and res. If you are super on like trying to do a budget version, you can just buy a bunch of these single multi with life and res. If you get all res, life, and one multiplier, it will be only about 30-40C, and the damage is fine, to be honest. They are included. I have like 8 of these in my budget version, and the damage is still over 20 million, so it's still fine. Now up here as well, I have another triple crit multi. So yeah, intuitive leap down here. I don't know if I talked about it. I'll just go over it again if I did, I guess. So damage pen 1% LE. One of these with corrupt blood would be perfect, and then it's quite value over here. You can take herbalism, acuity, further, heart seeker, and if you need race, you can go survivalist. If you don't need the accuracy, you can drop acuity. So yeah, that's a great one. And lastly, my jewel is a Watcher's Eye, which is a Hatred Precision, which again is very, very expensive. But if you are more on a budget side of things, you can just take one mod. So Hatred crit chance would be fine. They're about 4x now, so quite cheap. Or you can go for Precision Ball. It's up to you guys. But yeah, this is my Watcher's Eye that I'm using at the moment. So yeah, that just about covers the skill tree itself. Let's go into the Ascendancy over here. So we are a Raider because Frenzy charges. So we were obviously taking away the poacher because it's very important. +1 Frenzy and Frenzy charge generation pretty much permanently. And then Avatar of the Slaughter is just insane amounts of move speed, attack speed, damage per Frenzy charge. When you have 12 of these or 13 of these, you know, it stacks into the high heavens. So Avatar of the Slaughter is great. And then because we are cold, we're going for Avatar of the Veil. So we are immune to all elemental ailments whilst phasing, and you know, Quartz Infusion, all this gives us phasing, so we're always immune. And then nearby enemies also have fire, cold, and lightning exposure while you have phasing. And you know, we are always nearby our enemies because we are literally punching them in the face. So applying -20 to those resistances, so very, very good. Also giving them less accuracy, so more chance for us to dodge. Well, evade, I should say. But yeah, it's pretty standard stuff. PB in the description, as well as the budget version, guys. So I will crack on with the gems in a moment. Okay guys, so moving on to the gem skill links now. Starting with the helmet, we have our power charge on crit and ice bite in the helmet supporting flicker strike already. And then after that, this is currently my bossing setup, which is ruthless support. So ruthless obliterates bosses. You can kill any boss with ruthless. It's so strong. Conquerors die in under 0.1 seconds with this, and I'm not even exaggerating that. It is brutal. So if you're mapping, feel free to swap this out for Fortify or Melee Splash if you don't have the Strike skill gloves and you're finding your clear a bit slow. But Fortify should be fine, and it also adds an extra defensive layer. You could also use Close Combat, but you know, you don't really need to. So I opt for Fortify. Moving on from that, Awaken Early Damage with Attack Support, standard stuff. And then Awaken Multi-Strike, the Big Daddy. If you can get this, absolutely get it. If you can't afford it, you know, you can't help it. It is an expensive gem. Feel free to just go for the 2120. But the Awaken version, you know, it attacks so many times, it also helps with the Ruthless. So yeah, just bear that in mind. And then Ancestral War Chief, the Valvarian with Phantasmal Ancestral Protector. Phantasmal giving us the buff effect, which gives a lot more attack speed. Basically, you just throw these out. We're supporting it with multiple totem support. And then we just throw them out when a boss is coming down from one of their phases. And they are just ready to absolutely beat them to death. And yeah, your damage will just be amped so much. Currently 234,840, and then once these guys disappear, 209,000 tooltips. So that's quite a lot of damage for tooltip wise. So yeah, just put them down when the bosses are coming out of their phases. And then after that, we have our aura setup, which is Enlightened Support level 4. You don't necessarily need this, and I'll show you in a second. Hatred 21 over here. Herald of Ice 2123. You can roll with 2020 Herald of Ice if you really can't afford it. I've gone for 2123 because I'm buffing the effect of it with Circle of Fear anyway, so I may as well go all in on it. But they are very expensive at 2123. And then Divergent Precision. I would go for a 21 if I could get one, but I can't. So I've got 2020 at the moment, and I'll show you my mana pool actually. So I do have a lot spare. I have 226, so I could drop this for a level 3 if I really needed the currency to sell it. So just bear that in mind when you're making the build. And then we also, in our gloves, have the Dash, Second Wind, and Haste setup. So I'm using Haste. I'm not using the aura itself, but I am using the Valvarian. I've just got it on my movement skills. So whenever I get the souls when I'm mapping, I will be even faster. And you can see how fast I am already with the without a Quicksilver or anything. My movement speed modifier is 134%. at the moment, and that's because of the Dark Rays, and then it goes up to 154 when we have Cat's Agi. So yeah. In this little last socket over here, I usually have Portal, but it's not currently on this character, so it's not in here. But yeah, Dash and Second Wind for my movement skill. Preference, you can use whatever you want. You can use Whirling Blades if you want, it works with this build. Shield Charge as well, but who likes that, you know what I mean? So, moving on to the last one. For my small ones, it is the Cast when Damage Taken and Mortal Core setup, which works with the Replica Farrels because it gives us endurance charges. So 45% less physical damage taken per endurance charge move when this procs if I get hit. So a good defensive layer there. And then I've just stuck a Blood Rage in here as well for more attack speed and a bit more leech whilst I'm mapping. So pretty nice there. Lastly, the Replica Farrel's Fur, the 6 White Beast. So we have 6 blue gems in here. And this is the reason you're going to need so much int for this build, unfortunately. It's because the Ellie Weakness 2120 costs 159 int. If you can't reach the int, feel free to just get a lower Ellie Weakness. But if you're min-maxing, you know you want to get this at 2120. So we're using Frostbite and Ellie Weakness. So we've got 2 curses. So as you guessed, the next one is Awaken Hex Touch. So we can apply an additional curse. And using Vortex to apply that. So Vortex is very easy to use. It just literally puts a Vortex at your feet whenever you press it. And you can do it whilst you're Flicker Striking, it won't interrupt, so it's very, very cool to easily apply the curses. And then we're just amping the effects, the freeze and stuff with Bone Chill and Awakened Unbound Elements over here. So yeah, pretty good 6 link for you setup there. So that just about covers the overall cost, the overall gem setup at the moment. I will just bring you back in a sec, covering the complete cost of the build over the spreadsheet, including the gems and the jewels now. So give me a moment. Okay guys, so jumping into the cost of the gems and the jewels. Starting with the gems, the bulk of it is pretty much Awaken Multi-Strike. If you take a look at the price, 90.9x mine cost, and 45 of that was Awaken Multi. So straight away, if you just drop Awaken Multi-Strike and go for 2120, you will cut your price in half. And then even further, you could drop the Herald of Ice 2123, which cost me 9 exalts. And you could just get a normal 2020 for 0.1, or you can get a 2120, which would still be about 2 or 3x. But that would, going with the 2020, would cut your price down to 37.91 in total for the gems, which is quite affordable for a full gem setup, to be honest. I haven't taken out the Awaken Hex Touch because the double curse is just way too good. So yeah, 37.91 on the budget variant, dropping multi and Herald of Ice, and mine cost 90.9. So moving on from that, going down to the jewels over here. Now, unfortunately for the jewels, the large cluster jewels for the budget version will probably need 2 of this one over here, unfortunately, which is the Blanketed Snow, Prismatic Heart, and the Widespread, because you will probably need the resistances from Prismatic, so it will probably cost you 40x buying 2 of those, whereas my one costs 35 because I got the Disorienting Display one. So after that, the other one, the Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fight, Martial Prowess Jewel, is only 1x at the time that I bought it. So 1x there. They may go up since posting this video, I don't know. But yeah, just 1x, quite cheap. The 2 mediums, again, very cheap as well. 0.4x for each one of them, absolutely fine. Watcher's Eye you can drop on the budget variant and just get a single mod if you really choose. So Watcher's Eye, Hatred, Crit, Precision, Multi, cost me 55x in total at the time that I bought it. If you were to just get a Hatred Crit one, it would be 4x, and you could obviously just get a Precision Multi as well if you really wanted, which would be a lot cheaper than 4x as well. And then my triple crit multi-jewels, I have 4 of them, costing me 5x each, so 20x for those. A double multi-life res jewel for 12x, as well as a single multi-life for 0.2x with res on it, which is quite nice. And double multi-life cold damage for 3x. So the normal jewels, the crafted jewels themselves are also quite expensive if you go for the triple multi. But if you're on an absolute budget, you can just go for a single multi-life and res jewel, and 7 of those will cost you 2x, and you will probably be capped on the resistances if you go for the all Ellie res ones, so you will probably be able to afford the cheaper jewel instead. Now I have done a POB including all of these single multi-life res jewels, which are roughly about 20 to 30c each, and I've put the POB in the description as I mentioned, and the DPS is still over 20 million with just single multi-life res jewels on this budget build with the just the Shako with just the Ice Bite and everything, and the precursors. So just bear that in mind. And then you can upgrade it as you go along. And then a normal intuitive leap without an Elipen corrupt is about 0.65, and an bestial with corrupted blood and life for your Stygian Vise is about 0.3. So the total investment that I have in my jewels at the moment is 128.4x, which totals my total build up to 1,275.8 Exalted Orbs, or 2.72 mirrors at the current rate, being 1 mirror for 468x, which is at the time of recording, as well as 1x for 122c. So the budget variant total, from what I could tell at the prices when I did it, was 231.47x for the entire build, or 0.49 mirrors. So even the budget is quite pricey, but to be fair, it's doable, and it's a good way to get started. So I've put it over here. So it's a budget gear, 22 million DPS in POV, as well as 75% dodge, capture res, and decent life. So it can still work. It won't be as strong as mine. Obviously, you won't be able to obliterate the Fiat in under 20 seconds, but you will be able to do pretty much all content anyway. You may just struggle with the Maven with this DPS, because killing the Brain with lower DPS can get you killed, as I tested out a few times, which is why I lost so much XP at one point. So, yeah, that just about covers this. For the Pantheon and the Bandits, so for the Bandits, Halpalira, Crit Multi, and Eli Res is always good, as well as a bit of mana regen. And then for my Pantheons, what I'm using is just Soul of Arakali and Soul of Shikari. But this is always preference, guys. It's always preference, just whatever you prefer. This is just what I personally always prefer. I will use this on pretty much most of my builds, as you probably will see in my videos, unless I'm CI or something like that. So, yeah, I think I've just about covered everything. If you guys have any questions, anything about how you can craft the gear, I can try and help you out with this, because I do know quite a bit about this, and I could release some crafting guides for the gear. Big thanks as well to somebody on my friends that's called Booty Ravager, who helped me out when I was getting started with this build, because he has an awesome variant of this build as well, which is even higher DPS than mine. So, big thanks to you, Booty Ravager. You know who you are. And yeah, that's about it, guys. I will catch you next time in the future. Again, any feedback, appreciated. Also, guys, thank you to everyone who has subbed. I'm shooting up with subscribers, guys. Honestly, you guys are amazing. So thank you so much for that. And I will catch you next time, guys. Take care. Goodbye.